Good evening, comrades. So, Audacity at this point randomly decided to stop recording my commentary, so I'm going to do a little post-commentary for this, which is, serendipitous, because I think this particular scene requires, a little more serious commentary than I gave it, at the time, being sort of flabbergasted. So what is about to happen here is some seriously disgusting, rapey shit. You can see that he chokes her out if you do not press the button QTE in time. But I think the sexual overtones here are completely unmistakable. There is no doubt but that he is feeling this chick up, and he is threatening sexual violence against her. And he does it again. Smells her. Oh yeah. It's kind of hideous. And it's actually incredibly disturbing. For a couple reasons. What's wrong with this is not the mere fact that rape is threatened. There may or may not... Well, there are. There's a right way to do everything. There can exist media wherein women are threatened with rape, which aren't horrible. I mean, obviously that act in the context of the story is horrible, but that depiction in the artwork doesn't make the artwork horrible automatically. Here's the problem. The whole theme of this game is that Moe Laura learns to be a woman, right? She conquers adversity and turns from this naive, bookish girl into like the toughest nails, badass Lara Croft that we all know from the future games. Also, I want to note that mechanically this is the game's explanation for giving you your first gun, and she just gets a hip holster out of complete nowhere, which I think is hilarious. Anyways, so the point of this game is Lara learns how to be a badass. Yes. That's the whole theme. You'll want to protect her in the infamous statement of that the one developer before the game came out. And the game finds itself unavoidably placing her in a basically a threatened rape situation. So the game's thesis is that rape is one of the trials that a female has to go through in order to become a badass, because all females are always exposed to potential rape. Now there could be objections to this. One objection may be, well, listen, it's just practical. If you actually had an island full of castaway bandits who had interactions with only a limited number of people, then every time a pretty girl came around, they would probably try to rape her. I mean, they try to kill everyone else and steal their shit, why not? May be true. But here's the problem. The Tomb Raider is not a documentary. It's not journalism. This island doesn't actually exist. The only reason that these would-be rapists exist is because someone programmed them to. Someone wrote them to. The fundamental mistake here is that whether or not these characters would perform these acts, there's no necessary essential reason for these characters to exist. Think about this game as a Tomb Raider game. Think if they had designed this game, and this is a mechanical point too, one I'll talk about much later in the LP. But think about this game was just about Lara alone, trying to survive on an island and explore ruins. You've already got dangerous animals, hunting. She gets really freezing cold at one point. There's no mechanics associated with it, but there could be. Later on, spoiler alert, there's like crazy Japanese ancient demons or whatever. You could have a game with more exploration, more focus on survival, and other Tomb Raider-y things, and even still have combat and enemies. You don't need the rapists. You don't need the creepy rapists. They only exist because, well, why? Why do they exist? I guess one reason you could think of is that basically this game is half Uncharted and half Assassin's Creed with Tomb Raider paint applied on top, and both of those games have human enemies, so they wanted to give this game human enemies too. If you want to make a cover shooter, you gotta have things to shoot. And like animal enemies and Japanese demon enemies are not conducive to waist-high cover Gears of War based shooter. But again, it's completely unnecessary. This game would be better without the human enemies. And even if they really demanded the human enemies. Ooh, that sucked. What a headshot. This is hilarious too. This guy comes all the way down the ladder knowing I'm down here. It's kind of a bad move. Anyways, why make the particular... If you want human enemies, why make the particular context in which they exist be this, like, isolated scavenger bandit context, which is the context that makes sexual violence most likely?
Yes. I can see smoke coming from the old room.
The only conclusion I can reach is that
Roth, I'm in trouble.
the writers of this game actually legitimately believe that violently surviving threatened sexual violence makes a woman a badass. And that without that element, the woman, you haven't yet represented the peak of adversity a woman can face, and therefore haven't forged the woman into as much of a badass as possible. And to that horrific statement, I say, fuck you, Crystal Dynamics, and fuck that bullshit. That's how I feel about it. You mechanically designed and wrote two separate elements. You wrote a plot and mechanically designed a game specifically to engender a particular context in which rape is most likely, so that you could show that Lara has gone through the most intense crucible imaginable. And fuck you for that. Fuck you for that. You could have shown Lara becoming a mature, resolute, strong, self-reliant adult superhero person with a million other contexts, and you just chose this one because you wanted to see her get felt up by some Russian guy. And so fuck you. So that's enough for that rant. Having parsed that all out in my head, it really makes me not want to play this game anymore. But it's kind of whatever. I'm a privileged white guy, so it's easy for me to just forget about threats to power minorities like women, and so I'll just... And it's like a mildly amusing game on a mechanical level, so I'll keep playing it. It's got the scavenger hunt feel, the checklist feel. It's pretty compelling in the sense of not legitimately compelling. But I have a weakness for checklist games where it's like, get all this stuff. Get all this stuff. Now this game is particularly insulting in terms of the stuff. There's just like 6 of these journals, and 8 of those journals, and 4 of these journals, and 5 of these journals, and then there's 3 of these no masks, and 4 of these herbs, and 5 of these Marine World War II artifacts. It's just like, it's ridiculous. But I'll probably end up getting them all anyway. These journals are useless. Later on, I will make the decision that I am not going to sit here and listen to the voice acting the whole time. I just summarize them quickly and skip them, because the voice acting isn't any good, and the writing isn't any good, and the information they offer is already summarized right there on the screen on the left-hand side, which I just circle with my mouse. Oh my god. I'm clearly talking at this point about something. I don't know what. But, anyways. This little segment also introduces something which I don't quite understand yet, but I will come to understand very soon, which is a big mechanical element in this game, and also a big mechanical flaw in this game. So there's this little waterfall down here, and you can go behind it. I've already done it once, and there's one of these bags that you can burn, and salvage falls out. Common item in the game, but of course, going through the waterfall turns off your torch, and at this point, you need a fire source to light your torch. Now the only fire sources are outside, so it appears that there's no way to bring your lit torch into the cave to burn the bag. So how do you burn the bag? Well, unfortunately, the way this game is built, as time goes on, you sort of, in a Zelda-like fashion, unlock abilities that give you more navigational access to the world. Basically, locks and keys. So, significantly later in the game, a part I've already recorded by now, you get the ability to light your torch wherever you want.
Sooner or later, you wake up. But there's no waking up from this place.
Okay, maybe we'll listen to
Which means
Laura.
I'm really here. I'm really doing these things.
You're really almost getting raped.
No, don't think about it, Lara. Not now. It won't help. I don't know what's happened to the rest of the crew. I hope they're okay. They have to be. They have to be. I don't know what the hell is going on here.
Oh, this is me finding out that fast travel exists. You can go back to any of the previous areas, previous campfires whenever you want. So the game even though the game is basically linear, it faces you with navigational situations you don't have the keys to unlock yet. So basically what the game wants you to do is go as far through it as you can to near the end, I guess, to make sure you have all the abilities unlocked, and then go all the way back to the beginning and run through again and get all the shit you didn't have the ability to get yet. Which fucking sucks. Alright, so my rant's over. This episode's over. Thanks for watching. Fuck you, Crystal Dynamics. See you next mission.